You're listening to the Modern People Leader podcast. Today's episode will be a part of our People Leader series, where we go behind the scenes with today's top HR leaders and talk to them about how they've gotten to where they're at and what they really do every day. Our guest today is Joris Luijke, CEO of PIN. Joris, welcome to the Modern People Leader. How you doing?
Thank you. Very good. How are you?
Good. So when you showed up to the Zoom with your sweater, I immediately got a flashback to Transform. So I remember I have this vivid memory. It was the last night of Transform, and we were in the middle of, I can't remember the name of the club there at the casino, but they were having Nelly perform. And I remember looking to my right, and I see Steven, he's jamming out. We're standing on a table. And then I look to the left and I just see a sea of HR people. And in the distance, I see you with your sweater. I feel like that's your iconic sweater. Whenever I picture you, I always picture you wearing that sweater. So that's my last memory that I have of you.
Well, it's the cheapest marketing collateral that we have. It's actually a really cheap sweater as well. And we're kind of there's a lot of these sweaters that have a little logo on it. It's like a hoodie, especially in tech, right? And I was thinking, well, we've got such a cool logo. Why don't we just print it as big as possible, super brand aligned, and at a conference people can't miss you. So I'm glad it worked on you at least.
No, it's funny. I thought that y'all were one of the premier sponsors of the conference just because I saw you walking around everywhere with the sweater. So it's definitely working. And me and Steven need to think about making some Modern People Leader sweaters.
Yeah, with very big fonts. Yeah, that's the goal. Maybe just the acronym.
Yeah. Cool. So we start every episode the exact same way, and that's with good news stories. So we all go around and share a personal or work-related story from the past week or two. And we like to let our guests go first. So we'll let you kick it off.
Okay. Well, thank you. It's book week here in Australia, where this is, high school and kids age, childcare and stuff like that, where kids dress up in their favorite book characters, and schools encourage the love of reading. Is this something global? Is this in the US as well?
I don't think so.
It's a big thing in Australia. And my kid was really into it, and he's really into reading, and he's 6 years old, so he just learns how to read, and I just really love that. I just thought it was so cute to see all the kids, but secondly, just his love for reading reminds me of when I was a kid. I'd love to read as well, and I think it's one of those skills that is sometimes underappreciated, and if kids pick it up naturally without us pushing it as parents, just made me feel a little bit proud. So it's a small, very personal thing, but it was really lovely to see.
I don't think we have book week here in the US, but I know that if that were
definitely not a thing.
If that were a thing, I definitely would have enjoyed that as a kid.
Same here.
And I'm sure your daughters
which book character would you have dressed up as?
Oh, that's a tough question. I can't even really remember the names of the books that I was reading as a little kid. I remember reading a lot of R.L. Stein, and there was adventures of blah blah blah. I can't remember the name of the book title, but there were a handful of series that I read, but I cannot remember any of the characters.
Yeah, I mean there were a lot of Harry Potters and Pikachu's.
I was obsessed with The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Oh yes, I love that book.
I only read the first three, but I think I would have gone as the lion character because I just thought that character was so amazing.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's cool.
A good pick. Yeah, that's a good pick. I can go next. So the weeks where I feel like I do my best work are the weeks where I feel like I'm being creative. And this week I was able to get my creative juices flowing. So Steven had this idea on one of our phone calls a couple of weeks ago to create some sort of chat GPT guide for HR leaders or for people in HR. And I was like, that's an amazing idea. We should definitely put something together. So I spent 5-6 hours this week doing research and creating our own unique prompts, unique to Modern People Leader and what people shared with us in our show. So that was really fun. And then packaging that into a 30-page slider and then posting. I don't know. I just enjoy the creative process. And anytime I'm challenged like that, it's definitely I'm in my sweet spot. So that's my good news.
That's great news. And I'm sure it was a lot of fun putting together. The more I feel like AI, the deeper you dig, the more there is. And it's just kind of a bit of a rabbit hole, but like a really fun rabbit hole to go down. I'm gonna go with personal good news. So we're entering a holiday weekend in the US. We only did one like vacation this summer, and it was with the girls. I co-parent the girls, so we had them the entire month of July. Took a trip. It was amazing, but my partner and I didn't really have the time to do something just the two of us. And so just low key, we've got like one of those glamping, it's like a dome, like glamping, like not a, I don't even know what to call it. It's not a house, but it's like this
I know
like
exactly what you're talking
place.
about.
And it looks amazing. And so we're gonna spend the next few days out there. It has like a cute little private pool. So it's I'm looking forward to that. Looking forward to a little
Yeah,
R&R.
you definitely can't call that camping.
No.
It's definitely glamping it up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tori's not a big camper, but she told me that she would go glamping. So I might have to get the info for this place y'all are going to. So this next segment, Steven likes to call it our Brene Brown portion of the show. Like, tell us your story. I kind of like to think about it as like our how I built this segment of the show. Take us through all of the twists and turns. I guess maybe not all of the twists and turns, but like give us the highlights, from your career. I feel like you've worked for some amazing brands like Atlassian, Typeform, Squarespace, and now you're the CEO of an HR tech company. Like I don't really see that often. So
How
give
crazy
us
is
the
that?
story. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's like the ultimate dream, right? Like if you encounter a problem and you can, you actually find yourself in a position to fix it on a larger scale. That's just amazing. But yeah, I mean, it came from scratching my own itch. I was running HR at Atlassian and Squarespace, Typeform, those types of companies, all fast growth tech companies. They all really cared about their employee experience. I think I was lucky to work with amazing teams. So, we had really good HR, but at the same time, we still found ourselves always fighting fires, right? We were always a little bit reactive. And I think that's just the story of HR teams, right? And there's all these things happening in the organization. People coming back from parental leave, people onboarding, people being promoted, people leaving the organization, moving job levels, moving location, having their 5-year anniversary. All of these moments can happen simultaneously throughout the organization. And the really frustrating part for people in HR, and everyone will recognize this, is we know that those moments will happen. And we know what information people need at those moments. Yet we're incapable of being there for our people at those precise moments, right? So and then people always have to come to us for questions. We're inundated with questions all the time, and they always come a little bit too late. Oh shit, I've got someone in my team coming back from parental leave next week. What do I do? Well, you're already a little bit too late to put together a return to work plan, right? And this happens all the time. So what I wanted to do is find a way to be more proactive and to actually follow people along their employee journey. And as they hit these really important moments that matter in their employee journey, to be there for people proactively. So to have some kind of an automated way of reaching out to folks. And that's kind of what we've been building. And it's so much fun. Like seriously, it's so much fun I tried to build it at my previous companies a little bit, and we did a little bit of it, like, it was all sticky taped together or duct taped together, and obviously constantly broke. To actually build a solution to fix that problem, like for reals, and to have amazing companies that I'm in awe with, like actually saying like, I want to use this, right? It's just fantastic. So,
Joris,
I'm not living the dream, because a startup founder is a really hard job, right? But at the same time, I'm living the dream, like from a ideation and creation perspective. And then we'll have to deal with all the shit of building a company as well, which is super hard and full of ups and downs, but that's also part of the fun of it.
And when was there a point at which you were like, okay, I see that I am a creator, or I believe that I can create, like I can find a solution to these problems, and that like that you wanted to be an entrepreneur, that you aspire to be? Was that At what point did that become like an intentional step in your journey?
I think like not necessarily the entrepreneur part, but the ideation and making things that like are seemingly impossible happen has always been part of my DNA. So I don't think I came from a really traditional background, or my personality doesn't actually suit a HR person very well. I'm much more of a marketing person, like personality, I think. So I always did kind of things that were kind of out of the ordinary, right? Like I didn't set up a talent acquisition function. No, I had these massive hiring campaigns at Atlassian where I, rented a bus to drive through Europe, put like these massive stickers on the side, Europe, we're coming to steal your geeks, and drove from city to city with a bus filled with, Australian beers and swag. And I did that in the midst of the financial crisis in Europe when everyone was like looking at ways to get out of Europe and join a company in this promised land in Australia where it's always warm and the beaches are beautiful. And the idea is that are seemingly impossible to actually execute. I managed to execute all the time. It happened a number of times enough that I could say like, hey, this is actually a strength of mine. So, and this is across like all functions of HR, not just talent acquisition. So I knew I could make something happen that was seemingly impossible. But the entrepreneur part obviously is new to me because I'd never been an entrepreneur. So for me, it was really important to team up with someone who knew that part as well. And I teamed up with John Williams, who's the co-founder of Culture Amp, another really well-known HR tech business in Australia. And I got talking to him about this idea of PIN, and then we joined forces basically. And that's just a really amazing, like, he's an amazing, like a phenomenal engineering leader. But secondly, he's also built a company from scratch as an entrepreneur. He's been there from day one, right? And that I think is hugely important.
So you mentioned that you had like these wild ideas. I'm curious, like as a fellow idea guy, only like half of my ideas are good, but that doesn't mean that I should do all of the ideas. And every once in a while, an idea that I think is great, like totally flops. I'm curious, like are there any big ideas?
Flop idea? Oh yeah.
You were like, oh, this is gonna kill, and it totally flopped.
So at one time, this was at Atlassian, I had this idea of creating what I call a mood app. And it was an app that you could load on an iPad, and we could ask a question every day or every few days. And then there were these smiley faces from very unhappy to very happy. And I put them at the exits of all our buildings globally. Back then, still all in office, right? So as people left the office for the day, they could indicate their mood associated with that question. So, what did you think of the all hands presentation today? Or what do you think of the food? Or did you feel stressed today? Right. And as people exited, they submitted their responses. It was a great idea in theory, but of course people were like walking out and they like had a little bit of a Mickey with it and just like submitted responses or submitted multiple responses. It just didn't really work. So idea wise, okay. But really, like realistically, it was something that people like to write about, but it didn't really work.
That's funny. I've seen those like in bathrooms.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
And
like,
I've always wondered who actually presses the
I always
button.
see him at the airport.
Yeah, at the
for some
airport.
reason.
Yeah. Like I think the bathroom one, like I think the CEO, Mike Cannon Brooks, sent me a picture because he had just been traveling and they were not a big deal. And this is many years ago. They weren't a big deal, but he submitted a picture of him, like showing a picture of him leaving the bathroom and seeing one of the quote unquote mood apps in the context of a bathroom. I'm like, all right, well, this idea really stank. So yeah.
So how would you describe what PIN does to a family member? So let's say you run into, I don't know, that uncle that you haven't seen in 10 years, and he's not like the most tech savvy person. How are you describing what PIN does to him?
I can like how I described to my mom and dad when I first started building it was when my first kid was born. His name is Jasper. somehow Facebook had recognized that something that was personal in my life journey had occurred. A baby was born, right? But Facebook also knew I was back then living in New York City, working in tech. They probably knew my age, my income bracket, my gender, right? They have so much information on me, and they targeted me with these ads. And there were these ads for these really cute headphones that you can put on a newborn baby to bring a kid to a festival. It was just perfect for a slightly hipster dad like myself. So I was like, oh my God. The timing of it, just a few weeks after the kid was born. And secondly, the targeting was just perfect, right? So of course I clicked on the bugger, the ad, and I bought them, right? And we had so much fun with them. We brought the kid to all sorts of festivals in New York. And that's kind of when the penny dropped for me, like, wow, they were able to target this communication to me so well based on something that was so personal to me, and they personalized the communication. We have so much more information on our people inside organizations, yet we don't use that information to target communication to them. And so that's kind of when the penny dropped. So what PIN does is, like, let's say we notice someone moving from 0 to 1 or more direct reports. So we know that they've just become a manager. And we know that they're in engineering, not in customer success, right? We can send very personalized communications right at that moment, what the person needs at a moment like that. So they probably need to know how to run their kickoff one-on-one with their direct reports, and what their new responsibilities are, right? So we track all of that automatically. We're linked into the data sources that companies already have, like your HRIS system or ATS or other systems, maybe Zendesk, right? And we filter all this information, and we have a little individual profile on people. And every time something changes to someone's profile, we can send them information. So we send, like, in an organization, there's lots of these little profile changes happening every day, every week, right? So we send out hundreds of messages that are incredibly personalized and targeted to folks at those organizations.
I love that comparison, and all I can think about is you at a festival with your baby with the cute little headphones on.
So cute. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So cute. So why should me and Steven be jealous that you get to work at Penn?
Well, maybe not really for Steven, because you kind of built a company like yourself as well, like in the tech space, right? But I think, like, people out there, maybe not you and you, not maybe the two of you, because you're kind of entrepreneurs as well, but for an HR person and as the audience of this podcast, right? It is, being jealous is like, hey, you actually get to build your own solution, right? And that is just so special. And I never thought in my wildest dreams that I had the opportunity to actually do that. And it's innovative. It's very personalized. It's not as like I won't call, like, an HRIS system boring, but in a way, do I want to build like the next HRIS system? Probably not, right? Or an LMS system. There's so many old legacy models out there of how to manage people processes. This is like new and fresh, and so that's really fun as an HR person turned entrepreneur.
That is that I am jealous, by the way, yours. I think that and it's interesting. I've had, like, I don't know, 4 or 5 people reach out in the last few weeks, and I was like, what's going on LinkedIn? And I was like, what's going on? And I realized that we have a lag in our shows. So, like, it'll be a couple months before this show's released. And so people are listening to episodes that are announcing I sold my company and that I'm looking for a new job. And I've gotten all these, like, questions like, what is it like to work at an HR tech company? Like, I really am interested in making this shift. And I think I agree. I will double down on what you just said, that every HR person out there should be jealous of the jobs at Penn and all the other cutting edge HR tech companies out there, because it's like the perfect landing spot if you want to get a view into the business side of things, but also you get to continue to nerd out on the technical aspect of what you're doing. Because if you're working, most of the HR tech companies these days are truly innovating on their spaces. And so that just seems really exciting and something of course, obviously I'm going to sign up for because I have done that in the past, but I agree with you. It's a perfect landing spot for HR people working in HR tech. So the next section we've kind of labeled the HR State of the Union, and we've been asking a lot of the people that join us just kind of their views, their predictions, because it's a confusing market right now. And I feel like as a CEO of a work tech company, personally, I found that I had like an amazing vantage point on the HR landscape, from visibility into HR budgets, what the people spend look like, to people leader sentiment, to what's keeping HR execs up at night. And so I'm not sure if your experience has been the same, but I want to dig into this a little bit. You know, what are some of the trends that you're seeing, whether it's with the conversations you're having with people leaders or your customers? How would you kind of best describe the state of the union right now in HR?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, there's so much that has happened as well in the last few years, right? Like, it's too much, really. But maybe like a trend throughout that I can see is that companies, generally speaking, and HR folks, generally speaking, are getting way more serious about employee experience design, like EX design as a concept. So what I mean by that is, instead of prioritizing work by pillar, by learning and development and talent acquisition, the way I used to, right? It's really about looking at the journey of an employee and see what's missing or see what is suboptimal throughout that journey, and then like systematically trying to fix those. And I think that's really different from how we prioritized HR work in the past, that didn't take that employee perspective as much. So it's a skill that has really been introduced. And if you look at like Google Trends data, just looking at Google, just search data, right? There's been like a 400% increase in popularity in the last decade, this search term on employee experience. So something is happening there for sure. There's no doubt about it, right? Like, so much more popular just as a search term. And you see all these companies implementing these new roles like head of employee experience, or even like head of remote if they're a fully remote company, right? They all like place themselves in the shoes of an employee, and versus taking a HR team perspective, the way I used to manage and structure work when I was back in the days when I was leading HR teams. That's really been a fascinating trend that is on top of all the wild things that have happened in the last few years. It's kind of like this trend that has been kind of been progressing. It's really fascinating.
Yeah, almost like this. And I always go back to this episode. We had Jessica Swan on the podcast, and this is before she published her book, People Operations as a Product, I think is what it's called. She basically, explained to us that every company has three products: the product that they're selling to shareholders, the product that they're selling to employees, and the product that they're selling to their customers. And I feel like a lot of HR leaders are starting to think about that product that they're selling to their employees. Even like a prep call that I had the other day with the CHRO of Tyson Foods, she was talking about how that's the lens in which she looks at everything that she does. Like, I feel like it's this mindset shift that everybody's going through recently.
Yeah, and look, if you look at like companies, like how does like customer success do this, right? They have a customer journey, right? Like you see a lot of, and they have a customer journey map. Like you see a lot of companies now creating an employee journey map, right? That's something new that I experiment with that in the past, but it wasn't like a real trend or a real movement towards that. So it's those types of like expertises that are kind of being loaded into the team that just makes HR strategy much more interesting and much more connected, really, versus the old pillar approach, right? Where did HR ops really talk to talent acquisition? Yeah, maybe a little bit in handovers, but it wasn't like, from an employee's perspective, it was a very choppy process, right? You could be speaking to one person, have a completely different process, and then you spoke to your L&D person, and it was like talking to like a person in the new world, right? That is pretty bad from an employee experience perspective. And that is really being ironed out now. And I think like move to remote work and stuff like that has really accelerated that.
This is a trend that I love because it's so, I mean, it's one of those things when after you are aware of this newer, different way, it's like, why were we doing it the old way?
Yeah.
Which, just what you're describing is siloed, right? Like we're a function that's supposed to be breaking down silos. So why are we planning and doing all of our work in silos? And so that's a trend that I definitely get behind. Are there any surprises that you've had this year, or maybe trends that are not desirable? Like what's going on? We're seeing a lot of turbulence and a lot of swinging back and forth. So I'm just curious, does anything jump out to mind to you?
Well, being a bit more positive than that, like a trend that I like who wouldn't like mention like AI, right? Like hate it or love it. It's like a massive mind shift and an incredible advancement within a very short period of time. And it has been blowing my mind, and I'm super excited about it. Think about like remote work, right? With the pandemic, that was a big shift already on how we organize like companies and teams. But AI will fundamentally change work and work processes and jobs, right? I didn't expect it to be this big, but it is going to be big, right? And I'm really excited about the things I think this will make possible. Like one idea that I heard the other day was just really cool is we spend a lot of time on performance reviews as managers, right? We ask people to do a 360 on one of our team members, and then you have to write your manager evaluation, and then it takes hours to put like the right words together, and then you read all the 360 feedback and you incorporate that, and you do that for your whole team. You got like 8 direct reports, right? That's hours, weeks really spent on just writing manager reports without even having had the conversation yet. Like AI can assimilate all that data and write a draft performance review for you as a manager, right? So that cuts out like how many hours, right? So the performance review process is not necessarily worse, it actually gets better. And then as a manager, you can go in and make your tweaks, right? It's those things that just really, really excite me. Some people say like, it's not just chat GTP. That's not AI, right? There's so much possible within the use cases that we have that makes the lives of a manager, an employee so much easier. And that whole space just really excites me.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. We of course we can't have a conversation like this without without AI coming up.
You have to.
You really do. It's like AI everything right now. And I posted on LinkedIn because one of the things I noticed is that in the conversations, like I'm having these recorded conversations about AI, and just my mind is being blown every time I have a conversation. I thought about the performance management, but I hadn't gone like into that next level of detail around how exactly the magnitude of the improvements that could be made in the sheer amount of time. Because imagine the hours and hours just for mid-sized businesses, like extrapolate that to a Microsoft or PepsiCo, these really, really big companies. Just imagine the time wasted and the cost of that time. And so I'm having these rich conversations on the show, and then I'm really wanting to have these conversations outside of the show. Like, look at what I just learned, and no one knows what I'm talking about, and rarely any of the people in my normal world. Yeah, and this could be, well, I say generational, but that's not totally it either. And so it's surprising to me how many people don't realize how big of a game changer this is. And even those that do, like that have used generative AI, they're still not using it to the fullest extent, even in their day jobs. Like when I ask, okay, well, like, how are you using this in your job? And some people, maybe like 3 or 4 out of 10 are like, oh yeah, I'm doing this. I'm having it review my email. I'm having it tell me if there's an action for me. But like, there's so much more that can be done. Like essentially for the modern people leader, we created what I had 3 people doing in our marketing function in my prior business at Workify. I've been able to reduce that to just me, and it's just a fraction of my time. And so but and I'm expecting others to to have these experiences, and I'm finding that that's not the case. And so
I,
that's a real surprise to me.
I think that there is like this intimidation factor that people have. Like they're they think that it's a lot more difficult than it actually is. I remember that was sort of my thinking before I actually went in there and started digging around in ChatGPT. And you're right. I guess I was pretty surprised when I solicited prompts from LinkedIn how there were a lot of people with interest in that know that this is going to change their job for the better and make them more productive. But there weren't that many people that had like a set of 4 or 5 go-to prompts. It was like 2 or 3 people that were experts, and they're the ones who gave me like all of the goods. So I think you're right. I think people just need to like get in there and play around. Like it's way less scary once you're actually in there.
Yeah. And, in a way, like in the future, you don't even know, like, it's not like AI is just GTP, right? Like, and that's currently what's available. And I use it like a lot, like every day. I use it like 50-50 now with Google. It's just phenomenal how that has shifted. But I think the real crux will be if it's really incorporated in these systems, like the performance review, like example use case. Surely a company like Lattice is all over this, right? I mean, their CEO, Jack Altman, is the brother of OpenAI CEO, like Sam Altman, I think he's called,
I
right?
did not put
I
that
mean,
together.
they're gonna like be
I did
all
not put
over
that
this stuff,
together
or they have
either.
a really bad relationship as brothers. That could be the case. Well, I don't know, but gosh, that a company like Lattice is going to change this, and I think that Culture Amp just like released like news about like their partnerships with an AI kind of platform as well. You can imagine, like, you got all this survey data coming through, like just to collate all of those thoughts into a comprehensive story is going to be very valuable as well. So I think looking over the next like number of months, looking to the remainder of this year, I think a lot of companies will, like a lot of tech vendors in any field, but also in HR, will start to incorporate more of this. And this is not just like generative AI, just doing some text suggestions. No, it's much more fundamental on how these products actually work and make your life easier than than just like the generation of copy, if that makes sense.
That makes complete sense. And it also checks out. I agree with your comments on the lattices and culture amps of the world and their ability to move quickly. So I'm doing a lot of networking. I'm looking for my next job. So I'm and someone had recommended to me like, hey, Steven, like don't just do the obvious things like talk to executive recruiters or whatever, like go to your incubators, like talk to solopreneurs, like just get in front of as many people and really try to enjoy it. And so I'm doing that, and it's been a lot of fun. One of the conversations I had was with another peer CEO, an HR tech peer CEO here in Austin, and he handed over the reins to a new CEO. So now he's like a board member and has all these side projects, and was telling me, just walking me through the difference of in the cycle times for this innovation, this phase of innovation versus kind of the last cycle that we just got through. And he was explaining to me that the last cycle, you could find an innovation and it would take, depending on the complexity of the innovation, anywhere from 12 to 24 months for a competitor to get a jump, get a pot of engineers on it, develop it, get it integrated to the product, get customer feedback, et cetera, et cetera. And he was walking me through the cycle times for AI are closer to 3 to 6 months. And tying this back to my point earlier, the fact that cycle times are moving so quickly, but yet it doesn't feel like the masses are using the tools and adopting the tools in parallel to that. I'm excited that cycle times are so short, because that should mean we see a lot of cool things, like not having to do 30 performance reviews back to back to back. But it also kind of frightens me. And so I like your prediction by the end of the year, we're going to start to see some of these really, really cool things. because that also checks out. But it's just kind of scary how much shorter these cycle times are if my buddy is accurate.
Yeah. 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 It's kind of scary and fun. Like I'm just excited about it. Yeah.
So we've been spending a lot of time having off the record chats with people leaders. We're doing customer development interviews, and we've done close to 10 by now. And essentially we're putting, a handful of problems in front of these people leaders and asking them to stack rank these problems. And one of the top trends that we're seeing in these conversations is that people leaders are tired. They're burnt out, they're exhausted, they're feeling disrespected in some cases, not valued. I'm sure there's more words that I could describe. I could use to
The list
describe how
goes
they're
on and
feeling.
on.
The list goes on and on. So a lot of them are considering leaving the field altogether or moving into like a more of like a fractional role because it's hard. So I guess my question for you is, how would you react to, or like, what's your reaction to the statement that it's never been harder to be a people leader?
And with people leader, do you mean people on like
Like chief people
HR, like
officer.
the traditional word?
Yeah,
Or
exactly.
okay.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, I'm happy that I'm not in the CPO role and leading a tech company instead, which is crazy to say because like being an entrepreneur has its own set of challenges. But gosh, it's like it's hard. It's just been so hard. I feel the challenges of a people leader kind of follow the challenges within society and the changes there. We do live in a more polarized world. It's more binary. It's more, you're either for it or against it. Like employees expect like their leaders and particularly people in HR to take a stand. Or if they don't take a stand because they don't want to, then at least there has to be, they can expect that they have to justify that, right? So there's additionally to the sheer amount of changes, they have to deal with that, and that's really really tough. And you need to have the right words to actually like be empathetic to folks. And there's been some tough events as well, right? Like you need to be half HR person, half psychologist. It feels like, and then you have to train your people. And HR people are not psychologists. It's a different job altogether, right? So, and then they have to be psychologists for themselves because they've been like stressed and all of that stuff. It's just it's incredibly tough, and I feel for the profession as such. And then there's just so much information as well. Like if you look at the sheer amount of slacks, like did you know that like the Slack volume is twice what it was like before the pandemic? Just a number of messages that
Really?
companies are sending to each other. That's crazy. It's driving people bonkers, right? And in HR, it's often your job is to consolidate information and to send a more uniform message. So you're kind of expected to kind of like absorb all of that communications as well. And that's problematic as well. So it's like it's the triple whammy, really. You're kind of being attacked from all sides, and that must be really hard.
Yeah. So how long has it been since you were in your last CPO role?
Like about 5 years ago.
5 years.
We started Pin just
Yeah.
before the pandemic, and before that I was traveling a little bit. So yeah, I escaped all of this craziness a little bit. I mean, leading HR, like every CPO will say that being a CPO is not the easiest of professions, right? But it's definitely escalated like since. It's become tougher, I feel.
Yeah, definitely. I guess if you had to pick one big challenge that exists today for HR leaders versus 5, 6 years ago when you were the CPO at Typeform, like what is that one big difference? Like that one thing that we're having to, and it might be obvious, but like what do you think it is?
Um, I think the funneling, like the information management, I think that's a real big challenge. Like as a general concept. So there's so much more information, And then there's these additional messages that you need to communicate. So how do you funnel the right message to your people and at the same time absorb all of that communication as well? That is an area that needs to be solved somehow. And of course, like the CPO is not like suddenly like a superhuman, right? So these are skills that need to be acquired, or there has to be technology solutions that are going to support them, because otherwise people are going to break. Well, you said like people are breaking, right? People are turning to more fractional roles, or they join a VC company, right? The exodus of really good chief people officer is just tremendous. I blogged about it or I sent a message on LinkedIn a while back. It's crazy how many people that I really respect, like really amazing CPOs, have left the profession in the last number of years. I'm like, oh, that's kind of sad. That's hard. So I think, something in that space is really important.
So I have a hypothesis that just as the function is changing, right? A lot of change over the 5 years. The demands, the way the information flow, the information architecture that's needed to support the flow. Like there's so many things that have changed. I think the job itself is fundamentally changing as well. And I think some of the friction may be like, ooh, I see where this is going, and that's not me, right? That's no longer I'm no longer the right person for this kind of job. One of the changes that I have seen that relates to some of the things that you keep bringing up is this convergence of the communications function or internal communications role within HR. I think there's a lot of things that contributed to us getting here. So like the digitization of our space and this overwhelming wave of tools, internets, collaboration tools, wikis, all the things that we're managing information in. And so there's been this focus of how do we streamline this? How do we improve it? And it still seems very much the way things are happening today still seem very much rooted. Like I hear my girlfriend works for a Fortune 500, 12,000 employee company, and it's just all wonky. Like I won't even get into it, but something tells me that this new era that we're entering is going to look a lot different. And like the trend of mapping the employee journey out, like those to me, like in the past, a lot of those things would have been internal comms related, getting the right message to the right person at the right time in that journey. And so it feels like a long time coming that this has been coming down the pipeline. So why now? Like what do you think is really leading to the acceleration of communications and HR operations really starting to get more tightly integrated?
Sorry, I was muted. Like, why did it take so long in the first place, right? Okay, this is Dutch expression, like kicking in an open door. Like something is so. I'm from Holland originally, as you can hear from my funny accent. It's like so obvious. Like, why did marketing use a tool like HubSpot to detect people poking around on your website or attending an event and then sending communications after that based on like event-based, like personalized communications, basically? And why didn't we do that inside the organization? Like for the life of me, I just don't understand. Like when I was starting to like think of PIN, I was looking around for other tools and there was just nothing around. Like it's like that to me was like so like mind blowing. Why does marketing have this really targeted event-based personalized communications to prospects and customers, and we don't do that inside the organization? I think the acceleration probably happened with remote work. Like you couldn't just shout like to your neighbor anymore. You had to do it somewhat digitally and perhaps async. And there was a lack of connection as well between people, right? If someone is coming back from parental leave or going on parental leave and someone is sitting next to you going on parental leave like next week, you know that person is going to go on parental leave, right? You can physically see it. Whereas like if you're disconnected and you're kind of spread across the world, that's a lot harder, right? So to give managers, to give people the tools to actually detect what's going on in the personal journeys of employees is something that's probably accelerated with the move to remote world. And then the combination as well of an overload of communications. Like a lot of what we do at PIN is actually thinking about how to send less communications, not more communications. Like targeting communications is actually about sending less communications. I'll give you one example. Like if you, like when I was at a last year and a holiday would come up, I may send a communication to the entire organization, like to make people aware, or to all managers. Like let's say Diwali is coming up. We had an office in India, right? Big deal in India, obviously, Festival of the Lights, like had to be communicated. Whereas with PIN, instead, you can focus on a manager who is maybe based in New York City, who has a direct report in India. Now, to that manager, this message about Diwali coming up for their direct report is highly relevant, right? As a matter of fact, you can probably even provide a little bit more information about what the holiday means, and a reminder to turn on out of office for their direct report, that type of stuff. Whereas we over communicate so much. This is probably a big challenge in most organizations that have shifted to remote. They had to communicate so much more. And suddenly people are like, God, it's just too much, right? Like I remember like a company like Shopify turned off all like Slack integrations, like all apps that were integrated with Slack, because they were getting pinged all the time from all these different apps, right? Drove them crazy probably. And their CEO just said like, enough, I'm going to turn them all off, right? This is happening, right? So why now? Probably because of that move, right? But also technology makes it possible as well. Like, you know, there's systems that are popping up now that are making finding information easier and or providing it at the right time. So there's two things around information management, right? If you know that you need to find some information, you can go look for it. And in the old days, you would go to, you know, Confluence or Notion, and it was like this mountain of information. You couldn't find anything, right? Even if the communication, like if the information on Confluence was amazing, it was still hard to find stuff. Whereas now you don't have to be like looking in the future that far. If you can find information easier with ChatGPT, AI is going to make a big difference there. And systems like Guru are out there, right? They help like finding information just a little bit easier. And then on the other side is pushing information to folks, providing them with information at the right moments when it's important. People sometimes don't know when they need something, right? So let's say a person is coming back from parental leave, and that person reports to someone who is like 29 years old. They have never had a returning parent. That's not part of their experience package, right? So they pinging them in time to say, hey, you need to put together a return to work plan, and this is how you do it, is nice proactive communication. So that's more the PIN side. That is like the pushing of information. Both are important as it relates to information. And both are going to be part of this solution of information management, I think.
And
Like the
so, go ahead, Daniel.
No, I was going to say, as a marketer, I think of Salesforce as like the information management. And every time something happens there, it then communicates with the HubSpots or the Marketos, and something is automatically happening. And yeah, it kind of blows my mind that there's nothing like that existed in the past. Like, it, to your point, it feels so obvious.
It feels so obvious, yeah. And it can actually be related to different systems as well. Let's say you have a person like in customer success whose customer satisfaction score drops for 2 consecutive weeks, or their NPS score drops, right? Like a support agent. A system like PIN can send coaching material to that person's manager because, hey, this CSAT is dropping. This is how you can help them back on track, right? And that happens automatically. Like when I was at Squarespace, I would often have like managers come to us in HR saying like, hey, this support agent has gone off the rail. Like, you know, they've got a performance issue. Maybe we have to think about a PIP, right? And it was already too late. Like, it's already so much downstream. We can provide those nudges and that information and that guidance much more earlier in the process if you automate and have the right triggers in place.
And so the benefits are like super obvious to me. Like I said, like, why hasn't this existed? Why are we, talking about this as though it's a new concept? And so I'm a modern people leader. I'm managing my function as a product, right? I've taken an employee-centric view to how we are managing the people function, and which means we're super focused on employee experience. That matters to the CEO. How am I going to pitch? How do I pitch this to the CFO? Like, how do I convince them? We've talked like on several episodes on how one of the challenges with people leaders is not having the business acumen or the understanding of the business. How have, some of the customers that you have partnered with kind of rationalize like the benefit, the ROI of taking this leap? Because while it's obvious, it is a big difference to what the historical solutions have been.
It's kind of, from a CFO perspective, it's kind of easy. Like it's probably like people doing things manually at the moment. To be very honest, like it's just a dollar kind of equation. We have a customer like MongoDB, right? They identify every single person in the organization who is hired as a manager who has recently been promoted as a manager, right? And that happens a lot because it's a large organization, right? So they had a person manually keeping track of that through reporting that they extracted from their HRIS, and then they sent communications manually to these new managers, and then they had like a schedule for a whole week. So every week they would receive new communication. So this spreadsheet must have been massive, right? It was like almost like a person's sole job to just send out manual communications, right? Now that person doesn't have to do that. Like this happens automatically, right? So this person can focus on other things, and therefore they don't have to hire as many people anymore. So same thing in onboarding, right? A lot of use cases for PIN in onboarding as well, like this communication as people onboarding. Like, yeah, I had a whole onboarding team at Atlassian. So you don't need as many people to do very manual labor, right? And by the flip side of it, like finance actually needs to communicate a lot to new hires and to people throughout their journeys as well. Why not incorporate finance communication as well, make it personalized, right? So it's actually a benefit there as well. So it's not really been a big problem for us to communicate some of the financial benefits. I think hardly like a system like PIN is never a financial kind of question, like, hey, the investment is not worth it. So it's much more like a timing thing, like, oh, we've got other things going on, or we're implementing an HRIS system now and we need to do that first. That's generally speaking the discussion that we find.
I'm getting flashbacks to my early days working at Workify. So I used to work for Steven like 7, 8 years ago. And early on, we didn't have a marketing automation platform. So anything that came in through the website, whether it was an ebook lead or a demo request, regardless, like everything was happening on the marketing side. And I was having to manually go through and send out like personalized messages. And when I discovered that we could have automated this the entire time, I was like mind blown. So I can only imagine for the teams that are spending hours and hours managing new hires or looking at who's recently been promoted at a company of like 10,000 employees, that could be like an entire day's worth of work or week's worth of work. Like that's so much wasted time.
And then what you mentioned in marketing, right? It's not really value add either. Like it's just like keeping the ball, like the wheel spinning, right? Mm-hmm. But if you don't have to do that, you can actually look at your communication more holistically and say, hey, what can I improve here? And what messages work versus other messages? So you can do A/B testing and stuff like that. Like we make the role of people who did manual tasks much more strategic as a consequence, right? It's like a job enrichment happening almost immediately.
Yeah, I love the onboarding example, because to think that onboarding is part of the job title for hundreds, thousands of people like today is kind of crazy if you think about that.
Yeah,
So
totally.
So, but before we move on to rapid fire questions, I just want to make sure that we give like a quick plug for the employee journey mapper that is it released yet? Did-
It's not released yet.
Okay.
Yeah, no, well, it's an
When this
alpha.
goes
We have,
out, it'll for
yeah.
sure be out. But yeah, the employee journey mapper. And then I remember, when I was working at Humu, I would keep an eye on other companies like in the HR tech space, and I was always so impressed by how much y'all were just putting out there for the public. Like y'all have the open library of all of your communications. Kudos on that. Because even if you're not a PIN customer, you can go and there's so much valuable resources on your website. So, can you quickly share a little bit about the open library and the idea of putting that out there for everybody and now the employee journey mapper?
Yeah, absolutely. So, we basically, what PIN does is obviously across all these moments across the employee journey, you can automatically send communications to your employees or to your managers as they experience it. And there's hundreds of those moments, like, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. So what we've also got as a product is these communications that you can then send. So if you have a person coming back from parental leave, how do you put together a return to work plan? Or how do you communicate Diwali? Or how do you communicate International Women's Day? Or how do you communicate to a manager who has recently been promoted and give them a template for their first one-on-ones? All of those templates have been developed and have been released in an open library. So you have access, basically, if you're an HR person and you have a smaller team and you haven't created any of this communication yet, or just a small proportion of it, you can go to that open library and have all of that information accessible for free. I'm a super big proponent of open source. And I feel like if you give, that karma will eventually make its way back to you. It's most certainly the largest library of employee communications around, and it's free to use. And people absolutely love it. It's been a year since our release, and like the amount of feedback that we've gotten on that, it's just really, really, really encouraging. I love it. I really love getting the notes. Now, the employee journey mapper is really a result of our customers using our product. So they saw like, okay, we can communicate at all these moments that matter throughout the journey, and we can automate that communication. It's great. They're using PIN, right? But then they wanted to design their employee journey, like, hey, which moments that matter actually matter in our organization, or which touch points associated with those moments do we want to enable? So what we created is a free-to-use employee journey mapper. So you can design your entire employee experience based on a really advanced, like comprehensive template that we created. So you can go in and say, hey, this is the employee journey map that you could have. Now you can add some, you can remove some, and you can create your own company X employee journey. It's free to use. It's tools agnostic, so it's not like related to PIN. It's like open source, and also all those open source content pieces are also incorporated in it. So go to our website, pinhq.com, and you can browse to Journey Mapper and you can sign up for our wait list, or alternatively, if it's already released, then you can just access it.
I love that. And I feel like through just going through that process, people will start to see maybe some of the areas of their employee journey that they were neglecting. So
Totally.
I love the idea of the journey mapper. But we are 7 minutes over, so I'm going to get us into rapid fire questions. So, question one: how do you define a modern people leader? What are the traits and characteristics?
I think it hasn't fundamentally changed. There's still a lot that is the same. So I don't know the extent of modern that I need to incorporate, but I do think that people need to be even more adaptive and resilient. And kudos to all those like chief people officers out there and people leaders out there. You're doing an amazing job. Thank you for on behalf of all your employees. Probably, it's tough. You have to be really resilient, adaptive, and it's not an easy time in the profession. But gosh, people need you. So yeah, kudos to all of you.
Shout out to all the people leaders out there. All right, question two: if you could go back in time and talk to a 22-year-old you, what career advice would you give yourself and why?
Ah, 22. Wow. I wish I was 22 again. That's great. Or maybe not. I would probably say there's certain things that you're good at, certain things that you're not good at. It's okay. Like, be honest about what you're not good at as well. Don't spend as I would spend like days cycling everything that I didn't do so well.
Me too. I did
I
that.
know. So
It took me decades to stop doing that. But yeah,
to unlearn that, right? Like, and it's okay. And also, just to be honest, like, you kind of try to hide it at that age as well. Like, oh, I can kind of do it, but people actually are much more open to you saying like, oh, really, I suck at this. Can you please help me with this? So I would definitely give that advice.
That's great advice. All right, last rapid fire question. Is there anything that you believe to be true about the world of work, but don't yet have the data to support?
Nobody is reading your emails. That may be a slight
Yes.
exaggeration, but you know, in HR, we spent like many hours agonizing over communicating emails. It's like configuring an email. There's, you know, we've got some preliminary data. It's shocking. Like, if you send a communication to the entire organization, maybe 50% reads it, maybe less, you know? So, and that is really problematic. And I think people don't actually realize that. So, word of warning, if you don't personalize it, or if you don't like, you kind of like, you're kind of shooting yourself. And you've been anecdotally know this as well. I would send out communications in the past, and someone would come to my desk and say like, hey, what are we doing with performance reviews? And I'm like, I just sent you an email on that yesterday. Like, so this happens all the time. Yeah.
yeah. There's a reason why so many chief revenue officers and account executives are panicking all over the world because their emails are not being open, especially
No.
those emails. So
Yeah.
we got to be better. We got to be better. Well, Joris, this has been an amazing conversation. We're almost at the end. We have one more question and then one more tradition before we wrap it up. The next question is actually how we got you here. So if there are one or two people leaders or individuals in the people space that you feel are just cutting edge, this really pushing the boundaries and innovating in what they do, you know, and they need to be heard, like, who should we bring onto the show next?
I'm not sure if she's on the has been on the show already, but Jan Driver is just amazing. She's the chief people officer at Exabeam, I believe, and her story and like really rich life experiences, and just like her journey is just like through ups and downs and struggles, and she is just eternally optimistic and like has such a high level and degree of empathy, and that is so important in building like modern people leaders, right? And providing a service to the employees. So I think the story that she could like tell you was so inspirational. I really like was moved by it, and I think she would be amazing to have on the show.
Well, we would be honored to have her. So we'll definitely reach out. And that gets us to our final tradition. We call it one word, one phrase close. So a word or a few that we all want to respond with, just as we reflect on the conversation we just had. Yours, do you have
Um,
one?
for me, like I probably say like the future is like very exciting and bright, and I'm really excited about like the next like half year. I think more is going to happen in the next like 2 years than in the last 10 years. So that's exciting.
I'll say nobody reads your emails.
Love it. I saw him type in that and I was like, oh man, that's good. Uh, I'm gonna go with optimism. You know, I'm leaving this conversation yours, I love your optimism and it's infectious. And I love that you're leaving one really hard job and you left one really hard job for your current really hard job. And with everything going on, like if you're optimistic, like that brings optimism to me. And so I'm gonna go with optimism. And with that, I just want to thank you for joining us. Like Nadia, and shout out to Nadia from Tuscarora. I believe she was the one that recommended you. But man, you guys are up to some really cool work, and clearly, you have a unique take on our space. So thank you for coming and spending the last hour with us.
Thank you so much. It was amazing. Thank you.
All right,
Talk
guys.
to you later.
Bye. Bye. So on this show, we've talked a lot about the employee journey. The first thing that comes to my mind are those key moments that matter that every employee experiences. So what was the hiring experience like? How did my onboarding go? How were my work anniversaries and key accomplishments celebrated?
Yeah, I think about my best work experiences, and one that comes to mind is my last experience, and they like had all of this stuff mapped out to the T. At the time, I didn't know that, but in hindsight, they had their stuff figured out.
It's interesting. The old school approach would have been to look at the employee life cycle or the hired or fire process, but that is just outdated. And I think most HR people today would agree that the employee journey, it isn't linear. You've got to look at it more broadly. More of an employee journey map would be a more effective way to approach it.
I think you're right. But for the people leaders out there, they're like, what is an employee journey map? Like, how do I even go about creating it? What would you say to them?
That first, I would say that's a great question. In the past, like that would have been a major initiative, like an annual goal for the HR team. But our friends at Penn have created an employee journey designer tool and a ton of resources to support it that will allow you to do this in like 5 simple steps.
Yeah, I mean, I've taken a look and I am super impressed with what they've built. It's customizable. You log in and there's a pre-built library of content that's waiting for you there so that you can easily
Yes.
start crafting your unique employee journey. And did we mention that it's free? I don't think I mentioned that, right?
Heck yeah, we love free.
Yeah, and as of now, it's not even officially launched. So only MPL listeners are getting early access to it. So if you want to try the employee journey designer, you have to follow these 2 simple steps. One, grab your computer and go to pinhq.com/MPL. That's pynhq.com/MPL. From there, sign up with your work email and you're good to go. We are huge fans of Penn and we really believe in their product. So please go check it out right now. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Modern People Leader. We really, really appreciate it. And if you enjoyed the show, please leave us a 5-star rating. It would mean the world to us. And connect with us on LinkedIn. We wanna know what you think about the show. And yeah, you can find links to both of our profiles in the show notes. So thanks again for listening, and see you on the next episode.